Today's recipe is for another delicious, just add water meal in a jar. This creamy chicken and spinach pasta is made on the stovetop and is ready in about 20 minutes. It's easy, it's hearty, packed full of flavor, and I think you're going to want to make this one again and again. My husband and I love it. I hope you do too. Well, hi there, everyone. My name is Kareth. I'm a wife, a mom, an author, and a cook. On this channel, I like to create recipes using freeze-dried food. Sometimes it's completely shelf-stable, like a meal or a mix in a jar. Other times, I combine freeze-dried with fresh, but all the time, it's delicious. I'm here to help people who have freeze-dried food on their shelves to know how to cook with it. I test out recipes so you don't have to. Welcome to the Freeze-Dried Foodie. The sauce ingredients in this recipe are so yummy. It's actually a combination of a type of alfredo sauce from a different recipe and my tomato sauce, and those two combined together are wonderful. Of course, we've got chicken, some garlic, some yummy seasonings. The pasta I'm going to use in this recipe is actually linguine. I'll be adding spinach to this, but it's completely up to you what veggie you want to add. Kale, broccoli, zucchini, whatever you think would be good. And what I'll do is I'll put a list up on the screen of the ingredients you'll need to make this, and then down in the description box below the video, I will write the exact recipe with the measurements and all that. This is going to yield somewhere between 3 and 4 servings, kind of depends on how big your servings are, but you'll want to put this in a quart-sized jar. And all I did was break that linguine in half. That's about 6 ounces of linguine. The recipe actually calls for 7. I just ran out. But when you make this, you probably would want to put about 7, so you get a full 4 servings out of this. And then in between the gaps and spaces of that linguine, I'm going to go ahead and put some powders. So this is my tomato sauce. You can use the one from Thrivalist, and if you don't have it, don't worry. I've got a knockoff recipe or a copycat recipe on my channel, and I'll link to that below. That's what I put in there. I actually keep it in the freezer in order to make sure it's not clumpy. And then in goes a good amount of heavy cream powder. That's just part of that kind of alfredo sauce that I told you about. I have heavy cream powder, bechamel sauce, butter powder, and Parmesan that's going to go in here to make that alfredo sauce. And go ahead and tap it down and it'll settle down, and make some room to add your chicken. Now the chicken I'm adding here is just what I had left over from that, I think it's called pulled chicken. It's from freeze-dry wholesalers. And so anyway, you can use whatever kind of freeze-dried chicken you like. In fact, my original recipe calls for either grilled chicken dices or chicken slices. So just kind of put it all around that linguine, and you should have plenty of room for all of these ingredients in there if you get them to settle down in there. So we'll go ahead and add some butter powder. This butter powder is going to give the sauce a nice richness. I really like the flavor of the butter powder. It doesn't really have as much fat as you need in an alfredo sauce, so that's why I also add the heavy cream powder and the bechamel. And once again, don't worry if you don't have that Thrivalist brand of the bechamel, because I have a copycat recipe on my channel and I'll link to that below. So go ahead and add those powders and give your jar a good tap, 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 and let those things kind of settle down, and we'll add some more solid things. Now this right here is the last of my Thrivalist freeze-dried green onions. If you don't have them, just use the white chopped onions, or you could use the Lighthouse brand of chives. And then I've got some freeze-dried garlic gonna go in here. And then I'll add some other seasonings and some herbs. This freeze-dried parsley from Lighthouse brand is really great. I like the freshness that their herbs bring. And I like to add a little bit of heat here. So just a dash or 2 of red pepper flakes. And this right here, this is Cajun seasoning. And you might think, I don't want my chicken and spinach to taste like Cajun. But let me tell you, it's so good, and it's only a teaspoon of that seasoning, so it's not enough for it to take over the dish. I don't even know that you would identify that as being a Cajun seasoning in the end. It just brings a lot of flavor, and it's so good. I use the Cajun two-step. You can use whatever brand you like, but I highly recommend a teaspoon of the Cajun seasoning. And then I also added some salt and pepper. And now it's time for the freeze-dried spinach. Now I just opened that can, and this is what mine looks like. It's like in these little clumps or these little chunks of spinach. And it's actually quite concentrated, so you don't need a lot of it here, but you might have to push it down in order to make room for the Parmesan cheese that's gonna come next. So that is the freeze-dried Parmesan cheese, and I'm gonna fit about half a cup of that in the top here. Since I only had 6 ounces of linguine in my jar, you'll notice that at the top here, I actually have extra room, but I don't think you will if you get a full 7 or 8 ounces of linguine in your jar. It should be full to the rafters. Here is your jar that you could keep stored on your pantry shelf. And the idea here is make this once, like try it out, see if you like it. And if you like it, then you can go ahead and make 3 or 4 of them at once, and it will end up saving you time in the end. Whenever you're ready to make this, you'll need to get out a large soup pot or a Dutch oven or something like that, something that can fit a good amount of food in it. I actually have out my largest pot, which is actually way too big for this, but my Dutch oven has gone missing, and this is all I had to cook it in. So anyway, in goes 6 cups of water. And like I said earlier, this is a just add water recipe. That's all you have to do is add water to it. And then what you want to do is just kind of make sure that the sauce powders are getting mixed in with that water, and then get some heat going. And as this heats up, it'll be a lot easier to stir. You just need to stir it a couple times and be really gentle, because at this point the pasta is really brittle. You'll want to bring this up to a boil. So I think I had it on about a medium-high heat until it started to bubble. And you will need to come and stir this every once in a while, because it'll tend to stick on you. But once you get it to a boil, you can turn down your heat, and you'll need to be at probably in between a medium low and a medium, somewhere around a 3.5 or a 4 out of 10 on my stove is where I ended up. And then I just let this simmer away and bubble away for about 15 minutes. But I did have to come along every 4 or 5 minutes or so and stir it from the bottom. Reason being, you've got Parmesan cheese in there and you've got that pasta in there, and that will tend to stick on you. So be sure and stir it from the bottom every once in a while. And then after about 15 minutes or so, it should be nice and tender. You'll notice it will thicken, and of course your pasta will be pliable. At this point, I think it has been simmering for about 15 minutes. And remember, I didn't have quite as much pasta as the recipe calls for. So it might look to you like, oh, that looks more like soup. But I think yours is gonna be thicker than mine. It'll just have more pasta in there. Now's a good time to taste test and adjust your seasonings. I added just a pinch of salt and a little bit of cracked black pepper. The flavor is fantastic. Go ahead and get a fork in there and taste test those linguine noodles. Just make sure they're good and tender, and mine were. You can pull this off and let it stand for about 5 minutes, and as you do that, the sauce will thicken. And then you can serve it up. I like to top this with a little bit of fresh parsley, as well as some freshly grated Parmesan cheese. But isn't that just gorgeous? And y'all, let me tell you, my kitchen smelled amazing. I think it's a beautiful dish. It's nice and saucy. And let me talk about the flavor of the sauce. Okay, the Alfredo sauce base that I used, that is from fettuccine Alfredo with chicken. I'll link to that below as well. I think it's from my second cookbook. But that sauce is so rich and so creamy and so cheesy. It's so wonderful. It's a great base sauce for this. And then when you add in the tomato sauce, it just brightens everything up. And it is so good. And I really like the flavor that nice freeze-dried spinach brings here. It's just kind of bright and light. And I really like hiding vegetables in my pasta dishes. Now, I know this isn't exactly hidden. You can see the spinach, but it's not so much that it overpowers the dish. Since I'm married to someone who doesn't really think he likes green things, it's a really nice dish to put just some spinach in. He'll get a little bit of green stuff. He just won't hardly notice it. And here are some options if you don't like spinach. I think kale would be great in here, or freeze-dried broccoli. You could do freeze-dried zucchini. And I actually prefer it with either the grilled chicken dices or the chicken slices versus the rotisserie chicken, but it's all good. When I was taking pictures and filming this, I could not stop eating. I took my pictures and then I just set down my camera. I ate that whole bowl. It was so good. I think y'all are gonna really like this recipe. I had one of my subscribers had left me a comment and had asked a question about a different recipe, and it got me to thinking, I think I'll do a recipe that includes both the Alfredo sauce and the tomato sauce. It's just such a winning combination. All right, real quick, let me tell you, if you enjoy my recipes, please do consider purchasing my cookbooks. I've written 2 cookbooks. The print version, the paperbacks, are on Amazon. I'll link to that below. And then the digital versions, they're on my website. I will link to that as well. But if you have freeze-dried food on your shelves and you want to be able to cook with it and make delicious meals, these are great cookbooks to have in your possession. Well, all right, guys, thank y'all so much for watching. Please, if you would, hit the like button and then leave me a comment below. That really helps my channel to grow. I've got a scripture verse for you for today, and this one is from Romans 8:28, and it reads, "And we know that God causes all things to work together for good, for those who love him, and for those who are called according to his purpose." Isn't that such a comfort? All right, y'all. I hope you have a blessed day, a wonderful week, and until next time, y'all take care and keep thriving.